Certainly many of you have heard of this place on numerous occasions, whether in the context of soccer, associated with Pablo Escobar, or thanks to its vibrant nightlife and stunning nature. Socially, it's a country that has long sought happiness. I'm referring to a country with a land area several times larger than Ecuador, boasting a population of 52 million inhabitants and covering 1.14 million square kilometers, making it the second most populous country in South America after Brazil. However, being a developing country with such a large population brings its own set of challenges, leading women into prostitution. Meanwhile, men are drawn into the world of crime and robberies. The history of Colombia dates back to the period before the arrival of the Spanish in the Americas, when the region now known as Colombia was inhabited by various indigenous tribes. The first Spanish explorers to land on Colombian shores were Alonso de Ojeda and Juan de la Cosa in 1499. Subsequent exploratory expeditions traversed the coastal region, culminating in the founding of Colombia's first city, Santa Maria, in 1525, with Cartagena founded 8 years later in 1533. In 1810, the areas comprising New Granada declared independence from Spanish rule, except for Santa Marta, Riohacha, and the regions now known as Panama and Ecuador. The independence process began with various organizations and events, initially led by Antonio Nariño and Camilo Torres Tenorio. Later, the struggle for independence was led by Simon Bolivar and Francisco de Paula Santander, culminating in the long Battle of Boyacá, which began in 1810 and finally succeeded in 1819. In 1891, Gran Colombia was established, encompassing the territories of Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, and Ecuador, under the leadership of Simon Bolivar. Over time, these countries gradually separated, becoming 4 independent nations by 1903. For about a century, power in Gran Colombia was contested between the conservative and liberal parties, culminating in a long civil war due to rivalry between these factions. In 1948, the assassination of a liberal leader sparked widespread riots in Bogotá, known as El Bogotazo, spreading throughout the country and resulting in thousands of deaths. This led liberals and conservatives to share power. However, former liberal militants founded the Armed Forces of Colombia in 1964. In the following years, other organizations emerged, such as the National Liberation Army and the 19th of April movement, further aggravating the civil conflict. In the 1980s, cocaine production significantly expanded in Colombia, making the country the world's largest producer of this substance, with currently 79% of global production concentrated in the country. Moving to the present, one of the urban highlights is Medellín. When observed from a high vantage point, the arrangement of its buildings evokes memories of Hong Kong. Despite occupying a relatively compact area of about 382 km², the city hosts nearly 3 million residents, a fact that has spurred the construction of a diverse array of skyscrapers. Until about 3 decades ago, Medellín was known as the world's most dangerous metropolis. However, today, although some areas of makeshift housing persist, criminal organizations have virtually disappeared. In this way, this location, once a stronghold of cartels, has transformed into Colombia's main tourist hotspot, attracting visitors thanks to this unique feature. Once in Medellín, visitors inevitably seek out Escobar's tomb, the founder of the Medellín cartel who gained notoriety in numerous film and television productions worldwide. Following Escobar's era, Medellín and the entire country of Colombia rapidly embarked on a renewal process to reverse the negative image that plagued it. Over time, they have partially managed to dispel this long-standing image. The city now boasts a multitude of street artists and graffiti, particularly evident in Commune 13, where Medellín's street life flourishes. This place is one of the most photographed in the country and is also conducive to interactions with Colombians. Moreover, Medellín's lively atmosphere attracts many tourists, who often seek refuge in vibrant shopping centers to escape the heat. Thus, Medellín has become a tourism magnet in Colombia, largely thanks to the considerable devaluation of the Colombian peso against the US dollar, where $1 is equivalent to about 4,500 Colombian pesos, according to the official rate. Regarding the cost of living in the country, the minimum wage in Colombia is 1 million pesos, which is about $250. An initial analysis considers rental costs. It's evident that the cost of living is directly related to the standard of living. However, it's also intrinsically linked to personal income, isn't it? Well, renting a 3-bedroom apartment in Bogotá costs about $500. Meanwhile, in Cali, A property with similar features ranges between $280 and $380. In this sense, many people, especially singles, opt to rent a room in a family house or share an apartment. This significantly reduces housing expenses, coming to about $115. On the other hand, a childless couple can live in a furnished studio for about $585 a month, all expenses included. Generally, food prices in Colombia are not so high. On average, a dozen eggs cost only $1, and a kilogram of meat costs about $4. Foreign tourists have the opportunity to stay in high-end hotels, paying an average of $30 to $35 per night. However, speaking with an average resident of cities like Medellín or the capital, Bogotá, you'll learn that these inhabitants' monthly income revolves around only $300. Thus, the disparity between the comfort enjoyed by tourists and the financial reality of the locals is evident. The country offers an Uber system providing transportation options for about $3 to reach any location in Medellín, avoiding the crowds and congestion of urban public transport. In this way, Colombia is often compared to the Thailand of South America, where both food and entertainment are accessible. However, the unemployment rate remains high. On the streets, it's common to encounter street vendors, and the cost of a frozen lemonade, for example, is 3,000 Colombian pesos. The city center is bustling both day and night, with numerous street vendors and many people. In urban areas, street performers also make appearances. Whenever the traffic light turns red, they start a performance in the middle of the street and then ask for donations from motorists. Some go as far as approaching cars and offering to clean the windows as a means of livelihood. When establishing contact with someone in Colombia, financial status is not judged and time is not wasted on this. If it becomes clear that you are willing to spend money, many people will be ready to share moments with you within minutes. A prolonged stare for more than 5 seconds naturally attracts their approach. Furthermore, Colombian authorities do not intervene in these interactions. In short, prostitution is legalized in the country, and police operations are limited only to those involved in drug trafficking, without interfering in interpersonal relationships. For more authentic experiences, it's essential to engage in dancing with Colombians, as the typical Latin rhythms of the region are one of the main forms of connection between people in the country. The music continues until 5 in the morning and people are constantly engaged in dancing. Ultimately, when the minimum wage in a country is less than $300 and unemployment is high due to population density, people find various ways to maintain a reasonable standard of living. In Colombia, money is a resource that opens all doors, and Medellín is a notable example. The city is vibrant and full of colors. Bogotá, the country's capital, is a metropolis with cable cars crossing it, hosting a population of 7 million people. Situated among the mountains, the city is located at an altitude of 2,603 to 650 meters above sea level. Like in Medellín, street art is also valued here, and the city is known for its organization, offering a metropolitan feel compared to Medellín. Bogotá is the center of activities in Colombia, attracting those who wish to study at the country's universities. The most dangerous area, called Santa Fe, is known for illegal activities. It's a place that most people avoid frequenting. Colombia is not just about affordable food and a lively nightlife. There are many other aspects that make it unique. Just a 2-hour drive from Medellín is the village of Guatapé, a true green paradise where the mountains meet the lakes. The highlight of this region is a giant rock, believed to have formed millions of years ago. It's now a tourist destination. Climbing to the top requires paying a fee. Would you be surprised to discover that this incredible landscape was artificially created? Despite appearing completely natural when viewed from above, it was actually constructed by Colombians. In the 1970s, this region was transformed into a lake to generate electricity through a dam that powers all of Colombia. In Colombian villages, picturesque markets are also a unique feature. The inhabitants are always ready to offer music at these markets, but the most peculiar aspect goes beyond. Alligator heads, unusual fish species, presumably from the Amazon rivers, are sold and consumed at these fairs. Moreover, due to financial restrictions, Colombians often opt not to buy ready-made cigarettes. Instead, they prepare their cigars by rolling the tobacco. These cigars are made by the vendors themselves and are made available to the public at more accessible prices. Despite the generally friendly and welcoming nature of Colombians, especially in rural areas, they face significant challenges to survive. On the other hand, in Colombia, there's a river of unique and astonishing nature that is an extraordinary sight. This river is located deep in the Amazon forests, and is distinguished by its intensely red water. The reason for this peculiar coloring is the presence of a red plant that grows in the riverbed. Colombians claim that this plant is exclusive to the region and is not found anywhere else. Discovered in 1969, the river has been known since then as the River of Five Colors. If Colombia has not yet piqued your interest, there's another truly unique place in the country. Imagine a small island isolated in the middle of the ocean, with no land connection. This island is inhabited by a large number of people and does not have a formal municipal government. The local inhabitants are responsible for their self-management and regulate life on the island according to their own rules. Surprisingly, there's no police presence to intervene in case of crimes, and there's no hospital for emergency medical situations. The inhabitants must take care of themselves. Moreover, to reach the mainland, they face a long and challenging journey. This small community is home to about 1,200 people and lives independently from the Colombian mainland. The only way to access the island from the mainland is through boat excursions. And even then, those who do not reside on the island can stay for a maximum of 10 days. The island's residents have a maximum stay policy of 10 days for visitors. The only accommodation option available is a single guest house. Their main source of livelihood is fishing and selling fish in other regions of Colombia. The families on the island's diet is predominantly based on fish. They cover their electricity needs through over 200 solar panels installed on the island, harnessing solar energy. Moreover, they have access to Wi-Fi internet. Although they live isolated from the internal affairs of Colombia, it cannot be said that they lead a life completely disconnected from the modern era. However, the island does not have a sewage system, forcing the inhabitants to satisfy their physiological needs in the water where they fish, raising concerns about legality and making the place unsuitable for prolonged habitation. Those who live completely isolated in Colombia are the Amazonian tribes. Thank you for watching. Share your opinion below, whether you have already visited or wish to visit Colombia. Like the video and subscribe to the channel.